The Bepler's back! Making these tutorials coming at you fast. This tool, MP4 joiner. Oh, you better believe I'm going to be using it to join all my MP4s. Watch, I'm going to use it right now to open Flash. Oh, mouse in the middle of the screen. Oh. And Flash is open! So we're going to get an ActionScript 3 document. This is Flash CC 14? No, not you. Oh yeah, it's 14, all right. You can put some money on that. I guarantee it. So I'm using this version of Flash because Flash CC 15 came out and it sucks and it ruined Flash. And now we have this. Now we just here to be memories for our kids. While I'm making this tutorial, if at any point you feel like commenting, hey, how did you get that color palette? There's no need to now, because on your screen, you will find an annotation linking to a video that will show you exactly how to get this color palette. Right here. Super simple, super slick. Thanks for clicking. And it's gone. So let's get started on a small explosion. A small scale explosion. The headphones go on, even though I'm not listening to anything. It's just a comfort thing at this point. I still don't know why, but they gotta be on when I'm making a tutorial. Give yourself a ground plane. Make yourself some rulers. That's right, click stage rulers. Click one of them, any of them. Then you go down to guides, edit guides, and then you can change the color of those things. Bam, you want to lock them off, it's in the same spot. Done, 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 done. I have hotkeys. How to start your explosion. Get a good gray. I'm talking like a good gray. Like a little, like an AB. That's pretty good. A circle? I feel it. I feel circular. Nope. Professional hotkey user. Right before your eyes. There we go. Make it a circle. Half as fast as using the oval tool. Stretch it down. Now start it like tiny, because like the inception of an explosion is just a speck. It's an indistinguishable dot that you'll never know about. You'll never know it was there, but it is there. Next frame. In fact, next in bunch of frames. Make yourself some, and turn on your onion skin. How do you get started? How does anybody get started with anything? One step at a time. Right there. That's looking good to me. Something I should note when making explosions. The expansion rate should not be here. That'd be a bad explosion. That would just be a slow expansion of gas. You want here. See what I'm getting at? You see the vast difference? It's logarithmic, as in the decrease decreases exponentially. Oh, I think that's right. I think what I just said is competent. Yeah. And we will increase the increase of our income. So next step, once you get the bigness of it, is the sides. And wow. There, that's a good one. That's a good one right there. Okay. And right there. And this is a small explosion. This is like 1 foot. So it's like 2 feet. And you're going to take these sides and keep that in mind as you draw them. Because big smoke, you see tiny little details. But small smoke, pretty simple. It's pretty simple stuff, if you catch my drift. Okay. All right. I'm going to say this whole thing. It's got a little of that going on. A little clockwise rotation. So, like, you're seeing the internals of this churning in this manner. I'm going to call it now. I just feel it because of the way these two are pointing. Just take what you draw and interpret it into the physics of the explosion. So, bear that in mind. But for the first couple frames, you're just going to expand it a little bit. Like the first 2 next frames. So, let me do that. And I've done it. And you're looking at it. So I took this frame and I interpolated this motion into everything. Notice the heavy difference over here as compared to the small difference over here. See how I'm going with the whole this direction kind of thing? Same stuff started going on down at the bottom here. That's confusing. There. So I barely moved this chunk this way, and I moved it quite a bit that way. So I'm just picking a sort of rotation for this whole thing. This is just a guide for me to think about later when I'm shading. So once you get to this point, you guys start considering a few things are going to happen. There's something that I call billowing that is going on inside of explosions. So when the thing goes off, whatever it was, a grenade or a bomb or who knows what, there was heat released in all directions, all the which ways. But it didn't have very far to go because a lot of the debris and the whatever just turned into smoke. And, that's slowly cooling off and radiating its heat out into the world by turning darker. But a lot of it stays right in here. And it's really hot in the middle of explosions. But where does heat go? Heat rises. It does. So the thing is, it's going to go like kind of like that. Not that obviously, just because I can't draw a bunch of stuff at once, but it's going to be like a thing moving upward. And the hottest point is down the very center, right where the biddy went off. I'm going to move it over here because I don't really like that position anymore. Okay. So now, when stuff gets drawn upwards, like heat, all this wants to do is stay hot. So where's it going to go? Up into the center. Where's this big chunk going to go? It's going to go up into the center. But now this stuff up here, it's above the heat. The heat is right here. And there's it has to get back down to there. Everything wants to go towards the heat. So what does it do? Instead of just staying where it is and waiting for the heat to get to it, because it can't do that, it's already a little bit warm, so it's going to rise. It falls around the side of the thing and goes right into it like a big cooker. And everything follows this path of this this billowing motion, and it happens in all directions. So in front and behind, it all goes back up to the top. So you're going to have to animate that as your little smoke plume goes up. The first inception, I said it again. What a word. The first time you're going to see it begin is right at the top. So give it a little divot like that, where smoke is starting to part and choose a direction to go. This is a lot like what you see in mushroom clouds when they go up. They get like that. And everything gets drawn down. Goodness gracious. Explosions are convoluted. So what do we have? We have the whole thing starting to move upward. So not only is it going to be doing this cycling motion, but it's also all going to be moving upwards at the same time. And how do you draw the sides of things doing that? We'll get to that when we come to it. So let me just take the first step here. Keeping in mind the counterclockwise rotation of the whole piece of smoke, the upward motion, and now the billowing motion, I've put a divot here so your eyes are going to be able to follow that divot down the thing as it goes. And now I've gotten really groggy. Oh. It's a ball, right? That's what they told you. Helpful is the envelope. It makes it really easy to manipulate your smoke shapes without having to redraw them. Oh my. I think I might be coming down with something. Hold on. I think I'm better. So, which way was this thing going? Spiraling like that. So that's not right. It's gotta keep its front runner going while moving up. It's so hard to keep track of all the motions at once, which is why you should never ever animate the entire explosion one frame at a time. Do it in little pieces like this. Okay? What happens at the bottom is different than what happens up here. It doesn't get caught in this loop, this sort of smoke ring loop. It has to get there first. So either it's going to go out like this and come back, it's going to go out like this and fly away, it's going to go out like this and dissipate, or no, those are the only options. So I'm going to make this piece go out and then get swooped back as the smoke ring is up here. Let me just work on it. Okay, so I'm getting some frames done here, and I'm starting to see that the smoke is, it's doing exactly what I want. But I should mention this top part is turning into an entirely separate part than this. Right about here is a whole nother area now from everything down here. This stuff is just all connector. It's like when you have, it's like if you had two spheres of water and they were just barely connected by a tiny little what's it called? Bridge. So as I'm animating this, I'm keeping in mind the churning. That's still going on. See how this thing is starting to get sucked that way? Yeah, that's still going with its churning. These side parts, they're still riding up the side, and then I almost started to animate it wrong. This bottom bit wasn't moving left, but I fixed it, and I got it back on track. So you're really starting to see the billowing in action in this top portion here. And I've added these holes in the smoke as like little areas that would have gotten captured right in here. Like, in fact, I should trace it all the way back to its origins. That should definitely be part of it. So right there is the beginning. Yes. And then it just goes up through. I even drew that in somewhat the wrong spot. That makes more sense. And that makes more sense. See how it's following its heat. Oh, man. Next step is to get this one to make another one of these as it goes down into it. Just put little imperfections in the surface of it, so it's really easy to tell what part of the smoke is where and where it's churning. It'll be even easier with the shadows, but just give yourself little markers. Like there's one that I just did. I'll start it off a frame before, and now that's gonna ride all the way down the side of it, and I might even do a little divot here. And I've just realized that this looks like a dolphin. Oh, look at it! Look at its little dolphin body. Oh, I'm going to sail the 7 seas. I was thinking maybe that's the tail, but that doesn't work. It's already got a tail. Moving on, it's time to get back to animating. I'm going to keep these things moving up, and the next time you see me is when this part and this part are going to separate. So here we go. It'll be instant for you. So, here's how far I've made it. What we got going on is the basics, you know, all this. And now, what? This thing is getting just sucked straight up the center by its own heat, and it's definitely separating right here. We have separation, Captain. And it's reached this point where there's 2 parts of the explosion. You got the ground stage, which you don't know yet, but there is a bunch of stuff out here that I haven't drawn yet. I'm gonna call them kicks, where at the beginning it kicks out these big blotches that go and they ride on the ground for a while, and then they'll fade away. So those will get animated last, but they're out there right now. They look kind of like this, and they would keep it. They are what keeps the explosion looking whole, instead of just being this strange thing it is now. Mind you, it looks cool, but it's not quite right. There's stuff missing down here, the heavier gases that would have stayed on the ground. This is all the hot light stuff that floats away. The smoke ring, which will eventually look like that. See how it's flattening out? It's really, really tall right here and here, but now it's starting to turn more into a circle. And a couple things I want to point out. So you had this internal motion going that way, and you had to counteract that at a certain point with this side moving down. So the stuff over here is in the most turmoil, which is why a lot of the times it looks like it's almost staying in the same place. The pieces that are supposed to be moving down, it's kind of tricky. Over here it's easy because everything is turning that way, and the whole thing is shoving stuff down that way. So the upward motion of the entire gas can't really counteract the speed of stuff like this. You know? You know? And down here, I had to get to a point because this piece was like booking. It was making its way, but then it got to a point where all the other stuff stopped going up and kind of started going back this way. So I'm breaking it off right there. I'm calling this its own little particle now. Same thing happened with this one right here. It was getting ripped in both directions, so I just snapped it off and called that one half and that the other half. And now it's its own little person. And then same right here. This was a more dramatic version where it was going too fast instead of going too slow in the wrong direction, where it just splits, and I'm calling that its own particle, and it's ultimately going to get sucked back up to the center, but there's separation, and that's lending itself towards making this be more flat, like that, and also just what's the word? Demonstrating the speed at which this side is moving downward. Just rips it off. Like all this stuff is, it can't get pulled fast enough into there around this big long track that it has to make a shortcut. Because this has its downward motion along with the initial rotation. Okay, I'm going to do some particle work. I'm going to break this thing off more, make it fly upward, and come back. So now with so much more done, I've finished up the story of this bottom part. Let's see what happens. So it loses contact, and now this is all on its own, no longer being pulled by anything. It's just, it has to figure out what to do with itself. Obviously, it's the heavier of the two gases. So what's it going to do? It's just going to slowly make its way down to the ground. Maybe the lightest stuff all clumps together and decides to go up just a little bit right here at the end, as it gets even lighter as there's less of it. And the heavier stuff condenses and goes back down and sprawls out and disappears onto the ground. You know, like when you pour liquid nitrogen on a table and it just whoosh, because nitrogen is heavy. It does that. The gas that comes off it does. I mean, it spills onto the ground like a liquid because it's more dense. Because this is the cold stuff. Up here, hot heat. I was picked up and then dropped down and then turned clockwise, counterclockwise, turned around like that. It's going up. This little guy that got split off right here, he got severed, which I should actually suggest right there. Like, something could happen, man, if you're not careful. Oh, it did happen. He makes his way back up into the center of the globule at the top here. He's merged back in because he's going towards that heat in the center that's driving this whole thing. And he makes his way in, but he was going so fast, comes back out the top. But not quite so fast that all this can't pull him back down the sides, back towards the heat. Everything wants to go towards the heat. See how this is looking. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's looking pretty good stuff. And then these particles that came off the sides earlier, I just animated them upwards. So those are coming along. I'm maintaining this theme of like holes getting pushed in from these little pockets that form, and those go through. In fact, this one right here actually comes back out. Not that one. I thought it was that one. This one right here, it goes all the way through and it forms an exterior pocket on the outside now. It makes this a huge journey. It makes it starts like here and it goes and then it comes back out. It's crazy. So I'm going to wrap up all these little particles, the smoke ring, and then we'll talk about the kicks, do some stuff like that coming out the sides at the beginning, really show the force of the explosion, some camera shakes, some fire, some, you know, all the jazz. The jazz! Here it is. Okay, so most of the particles for this second stage are pretty much done. I put a lot here where it's split, as if like all of this is kind of giving up some smoke, like one right there goes down from the force of this outside bit going down. I'm trying to look for any other places where there might be some. This doesn't. Oh, it goes there, but that's kind of weird. So I'm just going to put one right there. And animate it up. Good, good, good. I put a few as this part was breaking. In fact, I'm going to put one right there. Great, and then I'm going to put one right there. Bam! And I put a bunch as this part's severed. Perfect. So, now it is time for some kicks. To call it Kickin' Delicious. So, let us do that. Now. So they go back to the beginning of the explosion, which I'm also starting to say to myself in my head a little bit every now and then that it's not as dramatic enough as I would like it. But these are going to help. These are going to really help. So let's make a new layer. Do you need a new layer? Do you need a new layer? No. All one layer. Kicks. These pieces. They're going to be like little things that go out really fast in the beginning and go way far away from the explosion. And these billow like crazy. They billow this way. See that? I'm doing the right thing, I'm just not drawing it properly. You're gonna like do some of that. Oh, and I finished up the smoke. It's gone now. I just broke it into 2 particles as it finally couldn't hold on to itself anymore. And done. I probably could have kept it as a ring, but who cares, right? Who cares? It's time for kicks. That's a good one. So these will all be like little ground particles right there. I'm going to do a bunch of these when I'm not recording, and then I'll get back and show you how they turn out, like halfway through. And I'll do the same for the particles. But this is the basic idea, just sending some little extra pieces out in the beginning to give it some force. DV force. CSGO. Maybe one towards the camera, like this. Not a bad thing, except when you zoom in. So in Flash CC15, you now have the option to use stage scale brush. So like it's the same way as the pen tool is this size at this zoom level, and that one at that. Instead, the brush changes sizes as you zoom. So it's basically a pencil tool with stroke instead of fill instead of stroke. Which seems like it would be helpful, but that's never been a huge issue for me. In fact, I find zooming to draw more detail is helpful, because then you're using smaller lines. Not entirely positive why they added it, but it's neat, and it's probably going to help people somewhere, somehow. So now to emulate these lines on this one that's coming towards the camera, just like that. Right there. And you might start to see it like pull off into 2 strands. Kind of like that. I'm silent because it's Bepler. I'm going to finish this one because it's so easy to stop talking when you're animating. And look at, oh, there's a little spike on here, right? A little spike that I did inadvertently. Let's roll with it and make the whole thing start to spin with, there's that spike now. Yes, that looks great. Whenever you do something random, go with it. Like there was one here, I believe, that I saw it was just barely spinning. Right in here, I saw that I moved the tail from there to there. I'm like, oh, well now this thing is just spinning that way. And I'm just going to animate it spinning all the way up its life. Okay, I'm going to finish up some kicks and I'll be back. And, well, instantly. Here we go. My, oh my, so much has happened. Kicks out the wazoo. Well, count them. 1, 2, oh, it's not the right color at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Probably more, like 9, 10 kicks. Just a little burst at the beginning to give it some power. I added the ground shockwave extending out from the origin. Pretty easy. Just approximate what a circle would look like from the side view. And you got a shockwave. Make it real thin far away and pretty thick close up. The kicks are easy, just get rid of them fast. Make sure you get rid of their trails as well, like here. All these particles, gotta get rid of those. This guy, I ended up getting rid of that, just like that. You know, nothing too fancy, just basic particle stuff. And the kicks can go obnoxiously fast, like compared to the speed of the explosion. Like I could put one like out there, and that's fine. In fact, that's good. And then here's that, just coming to a close. No onion skin or anything. There you go. Just super fast stuff in the beginning. You might even have one fly towards the camera. It's iffy. I mean, like at the camera, like that. But I'm pass on that. Don't complicate it. You know, just make it nice and frantic right in the moment, but then be able to make sense of all the franticism as it comes to a slow. All right. So this, I'm going to say, concludes it. You probably know it because you're seeing it's the end of the video now. So come back in part 2. This was line work, and I'll be showing you shading. Acting like I just thought up the title on the spot. I've already made the thumbnail. I'm ahead of myself here. This was line work, and next you're going to learn how to shade it. Well, you probably already know. I'm going to show you how I shade it, and then it'll look good, I hope. I'll add sound effects, all that jazz. Thanks for watching. I'm Andrew Bepler. Bye.